Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for today's Healthline 3. Healthline is where we like to focus on ways to live a healthier, happier, and pain-free life. We'll be taking your calls and answering your questions live in the studio today. We'll be opening those phone lines in just a little bit, but as a reminder, make sure you're in a quiet room when you call with that TV turned all the way down so that we can hear your question. That number to call is 318-219-4569. Today we're talking all about our eyes, and joining me today to talk about this is Dr. White Coleman III and Dr. Christopher Shelby with WK Eye Institute. Both are eye experts. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, and so just want to dive right in. In our midday newscast, you mentioned some really awesome things coming to the WK Eye Institute in just about 2 weeks. So tell me about that.
Yeah, we'll be open at our newly remodeled OR. So it's in the same location, what used to be the Steen Hall Eye Institute, now the WK Eye Institute. And basically the OR was unchanged since, I don't know, maybe like 30 years ago when Dr. Steen first Willis Knighton first built it for Dr. Steen. Mm-hmm. It's been pretty much the cataract surgery location since then without much of a change. And we've talked for years about we had 3 rooms that we could operate out of. We wanted 4. We wanted a dedicated room for our laser. We wanted to have a little bit of improvement in the patient workflow, and then just a cosmetic facelift, mainly so that we could be a little bit more efficient in getting people in and out of there with lower wait times. Okay. So, and lower wait times, better equipment, and a generally nicer setup. But we were always hesitant because we said, you know, this place flows so good and has for a long time. We're worried about moving out of the location in order to do a remodel. So we kind of went back and forth on whether to build a new facility or remodel that one. Financially, I think it made sense for Willis Knighton to remodel this one. They put a lot of money into this. So it's really an investment in the future of cataract surgery by Willis Knighton, a huge investment. And I think it shows their commitment to advancing eye health and cataract surgery, which is great. So we're going to have it reopened. We actually moved to the main OR, which amazingly, it still flowed very well over there. And we realized at that point that it wasn't the facility, it was our team that makes it work. Yeah. I think they've taken an average of 19,000 extra steps per day as a result of moving to the new place, because you have to walk a long way from pre-op, but it's worked fine. We've been doing well. We're there for like 2 or 3 more weeks, and then we'll be moving back to the brand new facility. We're gonna have a grand opening, so we'll invite you over for it. We want to do a little press surrounding it. And so I think it's going to be a great thing for us. It's going to be a great thing for the patients, and it's going to further increase capacity so that we will not be limited by how many people we can get done. So we don't book months out. We never want that where somebody comes in, they says, I can't see today, and you say, well, I can't operate on you for 2 or 3 months and get you back to functional status, especially people who are working, who need a driver's license to work, like people with CDLs, drive trucks for a living. We see those sometimes, who can't go back to work, or airline pilots who can't go back to work until they get it done. So we really like to be able to do it soon, within the next couple of weeks, and this is going to increase our ability to do that even further with even a little bit more excellent state-of-the-art technology. So I think that this center will represent an operating room that's as good as anything you would find anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. I think it'll be as nice as any facility has. Even if you went to someplace like Harvard, I don't think you'd find any nicer facility or any better equipment.
Nice. Well, that's really exciting, and I know that you guys are excited about it for
we
sure. Are. Okay, and so where's this new location at? Or it's the same location where you're at, it's just...
Yeah, it's the Steen Hall Eye Institute. That's what a lot of the old Shreveporters know it as, but it's the WK Eye Institute, WK Eye Surgery Center. It's in the same location on the 3rd floor, 2611 Greenwood Road. Okay. So like Dr. Coleman was saying, a lot of the patients now, or every patient, has to come across the street to the main ORs through the preoperative area there, but they've actually made it very easy. And like he was saying, our poor staff, they get literally 17 to 19,000 extra steps a day because they're having to go so far to bring patients back and forth. But wow. So they're looking forward to getting over there also.
Yeah, for sure.
But for patients, it's been very nice. It's been a good experience, but it'll be a much better experience once we get across the street.
Okay, and so you guys are also affectionately known as the cataract surgeons, but what else do you guys offer? You mentioned you're gonna have a laser room, so tell me a little bit about what all you guys offer for patients.
We talk about a lot the advancements that have occurred in cataract surgery over the past decade or so. One of the big ones is the laser to have more precise outcomes, intraoperative measurement equipment, And so we just have a dedicated room for it. We used to have to occupy one of the operating rooms with a laser. So now surgery can be done there. And the reason that's great is basically for workflow, because sometimes the retina surgeons need to come over and do an emergency case. That's not something that we do surgically, but the retina guys in town will come over and do a case. And so now that's not going to stop our normal workflow. They can have a dedicated room to do that. So I think it'll just be a smoother flow for everybody. You know, and all the technology that we have is going to be a little bit better integrated in this place. So I think it'll be more functional. I think we'll still have excellent outcomes. And we've talked about a lot, you know, the technology improvements, the ability to measure intraoperatively after the cataract's removed, before the new lens implant goes in, the ability to do a few of the critical steps of cataract surgery more precisely with the laser than it can be done by hand. All that still exists, just in a better workflow.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. And so so you have cataract surgery, what other surgical operations do you guys offer?
Well, as far as just surgery in general, you know, refractively, that's what we do. Is our goal, our primary purpose is to take people who have blurred vision and get them seeing better, ideally without glasses. So that mainly includes cataract surgery. Dr. Coleman does implantable contact lenses for patients who are really, really nearsighted. I do intacts for patients who have keratoconus, getting them seeing better. We do LASIK, PRK, SMILE. You know, so younger patients who wear glasses or contacts, they want to be out of them. We offer all those procedures. But in the surgery center itself, we'll be able to offer every ophthalmic surgical procedure out there, from plastics, cataract surgery, cornea-based surgery, retina surgery, glaucoma surgery. It'll be a one-stop shop.
Nice. Okay. And so some of these will help with that refractive error. Give me an explanation of what that means.
Well, you know, refractive error is basically something that you would need glasses or contacts to correct. So it's farsightedness, nearsightedness, astigmatism. Refractive error is a collective term for those three things, basically. So when we say we want to do refractive surgery, whether it's refractive cataract surgery or like LASIK surgery, basically we're changing the focusing power of the eye to make the light rays focus on the retina without the need for an external device, meaning glasses or contacts. So, you know, LASIK has been the gold standard for a long time. A few years ago we added SMILE, which is a LASIK alternative. It's like flap-free LASIK. Then we added implantable contact lenses for people who can't have LASIK, or people who are too nearsighted, that you just physically can't do LASIK. It's too big of a correction. So it opened up refractive surgery for people who are, let's say, like, you know, normal prescription maybe like a -3 or 4. You can do people who are -20. So that was an amazing thing. It's really amazing technology, and it's been progressing for like the last maybe 20 years, but it's really gotten great in the last 3 or so years. The technology has improved a ton. So all those things roll up into options for almost anybody who wants glasses or contact independence, whether they need cataract surgery or whether they're a young person who ends up getting LASIK, SMILE, or an ICL.
Gotcha.
And it's probably worth noting it. We talk about like what surgeries we do. In our own practice, we don't have a corneal specialist at the present time. Some people need specific corneal surgeries like corneal transplants, partial or full thickness. My sister did a cornea fellowship in Miami after doing residency here, and she's starting in our practice in January. So we'll have a service line that is not offered currently that we will have the ability to offer then.
Nice.
So I think that'll be a great improvement also.
Absolutely, for sure. Okay, and I asked you this question, Dr. Coleman, last time, so I'm going to ask you, Dr. Shelby, why did you want to become an ophthalmologist? What was your, big passion for it?
It's interesting. That's actually a good question. So my father was a heart surgeon, and kind of one of the original ones. And he was here for years and years, and I used to work with him in the operating room when I was in school. And I thought, man, I want to do heart surgery. This is great. And so when I went to medical school, you're not exposed to anything else other than what you're exposed to. And so when you get to medical school, suddenly there's a lot of other things that you can look at doing. And long story short, I found neurosurgery very interesting, or just the brain in general. And of course, the eyes, being the window to the soul, are completely, the network from the eye to the brain is actually very fascinating. So that was the first thing that fascinated me with the eyes. And then, of course, then I started getting into the cataract surgery and refractive surgery of it. And the ability to do microsurgery, which we enjoy doing, and we're actually very good at it, is very rewarding. But the biggest reward is the outcome. And these patients, especially the LSU patients that were coming in blind and then they would leave, you see them the next day, and it's a whole new world. I mean, it's incredibly satisfying and very rewarding. And they're quick procedures and nobody dies on you, which I got to admit is kind of that's a huge benefit,
Yeah.
and everybody more or less likes you. But it's a whole different world than other parts of medicine, and I just found it fascinating. Plus, if you're into physics at all, engineering, it's fascinating. With the way the eye works and having to figure out what type of lens to put in what type of patient. It's just it's fascinating.
It's like a puzzle.
It is
every day.
Yeah, there's a little bit of math involved too. There's a lot of sectors of medicine, you don't do that much math. People who love math, typically in engineering, always liked math. I didn't quite get a math minor, but I look back, I wish I did. I took a bunch of extra math classes just because I thought it was interesting. And so ophthalmology is one of the few subspecialties in medicine that is pretty math heavy. So especially with optics, and optics specifically relate to refractive error. So there's a lot of math on the back end of that drives outcomes that leave people free from glasses. So that's an interesting component of refractive surgery, and especially refractive cataract surgery.
Very interesting. I love that. And so going back to some of those surgeries, so implantable contact lenses, or ICL as you called it.
ICL, yep.
So you mentioned this was something for someone who maybe doesn't qualify for LASIK or SMILE, and they have pretty bad nearsightedness. But can this be for other people that are just interested in having this procedure?
It can. And so there's like a lot of overlap now between LASIK and ICL. And the ICL, as it's gotten better, has started to take over more and more of the LASIK. So for example, if you had someone come in who was like a -10 prescription, that's pretty nearsighted, but it's not like way outside the realm of normal. -20 would be, a very far outlier. There's not very many of those in the world. There's getting to be more, and that's another topic. But, maybe 5 years ago, you'd say, for sure we'll do LASIK on a -10. Now you'd say, well, would I prefer to not make that big alteration in the cornea and just do an implantable contact lens that you can take out in the future when you do cataract surgery, and then you will not have an altered cornea? As they've gotten safer and better, that continuum has started to push more towards the ICL. So you can go down to a -3, you can do an ICL in somebody who's got a low refractive error, who's just a little bit nearsighted, if they don't qualify for LASIK. I think for those type of people, if they do qualify for LASIK, that's a better choice just because it has a longer track record. That we know the risk profile of LASIK very well. We know it's really stable over time. It's been around for 30 years. Typically in medicine, we like old things from medicines and procedures that we are well established to be very safe and effective, rather than new things. The risk profile is better just because you have more data over time. So that's where LASIK falls. But I think as the data gets more robust with the ICLs, we're gonna do more of those and less LASIK. So
Gotcha.
I think that's evolving over time, and as the technology has improved, we may get to a point maybe 20 years from now, we don't alter the shape of the cornea, we just put a lens in the eye. So
Yeah, okay, thanks for sharing that.
it's a
That's-
possibility.
Looking forward to that. Okay, and so George is joining us now. Thanks for joining us, and what's your question?
Okay, George is joining us now. Thanks for joining us, and what's your question?
Yes, ma'am. I had LASIK done about 3 years ago, and my eyes were they're kind of yellow. And what is going on with that?
Talking about your eyes are yellow as far as like when you look in the mirror, or you see kind of a yellow tint?
Talking about your eyes are yellow as far as like when you look in the mirror, or you see kind of a yellow tint?
A little bit of yellow tint.
As far as like when you look in the mirror, or you see.
So, like you're seeing yellow, or that's what they look like?
So, like you're seeing yellow, or that's what they look like.
They look yellow.
Oh, they look yellow. there could be a little engorgement of the little bitty blood vessels on the surface of the eye. And that can actually appear kind of yellowish sometimes, or even brown, like when you're looking at them. One of the things you can do is we need to take a look and see, because under the microscope, that'll kind of tell us what's going on. Everybody's going to have a little inflammation when it comes to eye surgery. And you can have a slight increase in dry eye, things like that, after LASIK or even cataract surgery. And so, but those things can be treated over time. The best thing to do is to take a look and see.
Anytime somebody says they have yellow eyes, I think you may want to check your liver enzymes, because it may be something that's totally not related to the LASIK surgery that can cause the eyes to have a yellow appearance. That's usually not elevated, but that is a possibility that's worth considering for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's an example of you need to come in,
We
let's
take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
We
saying.
can draw some labs if we need to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ignore it.
No.
All right, thanks, George, for giving us a call with that question. And if you're just joining us and you have a question for Dr. Shelby or Dr. Coleman, give us a call at 318-219-4569. That number is right there on your screen. And now I love bringing my personal questions to you guys, because I think it's pretty interesting, just eyes in general. I mean, what would we do without our eyesight? It's very precious. And so as far as like overall wellness, I've heard that with circadian rhythm, like your sleep and wake cycle, it's important to expose your naked eye to the sunlight. Obviously not looking directly at it, but maybe being outside. Like, what do you guys say about that? Is that something that you would encourage patients to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of one of these weirdos. My cousin is a sleep dentist, and not like putting patients to sleep for dentistry, but helping to improve their airway so they can improve their quality of sleep. And the whole grounding thing, walking around the grass without your shoes on, things like that. There's something to it. But also at the same time, as the sun's coming up, the wavelengths of light that are hitting your eyes are a little bit different than when the sun's high in the sky. And so, it goes back to the blue light and things like that. And so blue light's a good thing because it stimulates your pineal gland, and it's responsible for that day-night cycle. And so there is a lot of talk about getting some good sun exposure, especially in the morning, to really start your day, And I believe it to be true, because I know I feel better when I do those things.
Yeah.
Now the blue blocking glasses that a lot of people talk about, during the day, the jury's still out as far as a lot of good peer-reviewed research on it, but I put the redshift, the filter over my phone, computer, and things like that as the sun goes down, because I do know this, is that since the TV has gone off at nighttime, we sleep better. And you are getting a lot of those wavelengths of light at nighttime, especially young people who are on their screens, all that, and their sleep is not near as good as it should be. And, it used to be one of those things where it was a badge of honor to say, I only slept 2 hours last night, things like that. And I always felt like a wussy, because I'm like, man, I need like 6 or 7 hours.
Me too.
And the reality is that you need about 6 or 7 hours, if not more. And you have to get good quality of sleep. I mean, there's some research now that shows that Alzheimer's can be related to poor sleep patterns, because when we're asleep and you're sleeping well, it helps to flush all those toxins and whatnot out of the brain and the cerebrospinal fluid. And sleep hygiene is very, very important. And different wavelengths of light are they are associated with good and bad sleep patterns.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. And we'll put a pin in that because I have a follow-up question. But Melvin, thanks for joining us. And what's your question for Dr. Shelby or Dr. Coleman?
Well, I was calling concerning, I had cataract surgery last year. And it seemed as though my eyes are worse than they were before I had the surgery. I get up in the morning and my eyes are red. I'm steady using drops. I think they're supposed to have been did some type of work concerning glaucoma or what have you.
take this?
Yeah, sure. And Melvin, have you, you know, certainly the purpose of cataract surgery is to make the vision better, not worse, obviously. And did you notice it was better right after surgery, and now it's not as good, or was it immediately worse from the day after you had cataract surgery, and that's never changed?
It never changed. It's worse after. It seemed as though I was seeing better before I had the surgery.
Well, certainly that's not the way we want it to go. Did one of us do your surgery?
Yes.
Okay. Who did it?
Was it the good-looking guy or the other guy?
Definitely
the
not
other
me.
guy. Shelby
Okay.
did it. Dr. Shelby did it.
Okay. Gosh, we always keep our fingers crossed when
Yeah, I
somebody
know.
says they had a bad result. But so we need to see you. We need to see you again and look. We need to just get you in immediately and just call the clinic and tell them we talked on TV, because there's a few simple things. You know, a secondary cataract is a film over the back of the lens implant. That can occur pretty quickly after cataract surgery. Lasering it off can make a big difference. You know, we need to make sure the retina's okay. If you're this far out of surgery and it's never really changed, that's probably not what the deal is. Some people can have surface dryness, and it sounds like you're using drops a lot and they're red and irritated. You may want to try doing some lubricant ointment at night, like Cystane Overnight. It's thick, it's in a tube. It's very common for people's eyes to not close completely while they sleep. They dry out all night, and dryness can make the vision pretty blurry. You know, another thing that we commonly hear is when someone, if they were nearsighted before surgery, if you could read up close without glasses, and then after surgery, even if you're 20/20 at distance, and it can seem worse, even though objectively it's better because you don't need glasses for distance. People say, well, now my vision's worse because I can't read up close. But you may need some readers for that, so that could be a simple solution. Many times there's a very simple solution, but certainly we would expect the result from cataract surgery, and is the case 99% of the time, for it to be better afterwards than it was before. And if that's not what you're getting, come in and let us take a look, because we can almost always get you to the finish line. I hate that you've gone a year, but you know, give the clinic a call now, tell them we talked on TV. We'll have you back in next week, and we'll dig in and find a solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
We'll take a look at you
Okay.
and see. You know, like you said, we pride ourselves in the results, and if you're not seeing better afterwards, we need to know why. So give us a call, and I don't know where we saw you, over at North or at Piermont. Which clinic did we see you at?
Yeah, it was at North.
Okay, so call 212-2020 and tell them you talked to
212-2020.
212-2020. Tell them you talked to Dr. Shelby on KTBS, and I will see you next week.
Okay. I'll do. Thank you.
All right,
Yes,
buddy. We'll take
thanks
care
for
of you.
calling.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Melvin. And if you're just joining us and you have a question, give us a call at 318-219-4569. We're talking about eye health, and you can ask one of these fellas a question.
I mean, every now and then there's somebody who's had cataract surgery, they don't see better, and then they don't come back for whatever reason. And they say, well, I guess this is just the way it's supposed to be. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So, and we want to know who those people are, because usually it's a simple solution.
Yeah.
Almost always is. And probably most common thing is a secondary cataract, and that's just a film on the back of the lens implant. And it's just a wrinkling of the capsule. You know, the cataract's surrounded by a thin membrane called the capsule. We, either by hand make an opening or use the laser to cut a hole in the anterior or front portion of that capsule. We remove the cataract through it, put the new lens implant inside it. And the cataract's bulky, it's thick, it's like 5 millimeters thick. So when you put a 0.5 millimeter thick lens implant in, the posterior or back portion of that capsule has to wrinkle up some to scar the lens into its final position. And that wrinkling can reduce the vision. And we can laser it in the office. It takes 1 minute and it opens it up, clears it up. But sometimes people notice that almost immediately after cataract surgery. And that's a simple fix. That'd be the first thing we'd look for. And then, of course, make sure the retina's in good shape, dry eye's not affecting it, and that the refractive outcome, like we talked about, refractive error, is what we wanted it to be.
Right.
And some people just need glasses after cataract surgery too. And if they had astigmatism, correcting astigmatism doing multifocal lenses, those are optional things. Not everybody wants to do it. And you may just need a glasses prescription to be 20/20. So all those things are simple things. So basically we'd follow that algorithm and say, what do we need to do to get to the finish line? And 99% of the time, we're going to figure it out pretty quickly and get there.
Yeah, yeah, so let that serve as like a PSA. If you're
Yeah.
not seeing maybe as good as you thought you would right after cataract surgery, that, as you mentioned, like you want those results, and if you're not seeing that, then, maybe check
Come back
in.
and we'll see
Yeah.
people who were done by other people too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And like Dr. Coleman said, and anybody out there who's listening, and especially if you're a patient or even if you're not, if you are not seeing like you expected to see after cataract surgery or something's going on, we need to know about it. I've been trying to learn how to read minds ever since I got married, and I'm not very good at it. So, you gotta tell us what's going on so we know.
Okay. All right, Sue, thanks for joining us. What's your question?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi.
Good. How are you?
I had ALK surgery done by Dr. Steen when I was 49, and that's been 30 years ago. And my vision is 20/20. I still go in every year to get my eye checkup. But what do y'all do now compared to what the ALK surgery was?
All sorts of stuff. So the ALK and RK days, that was the best they had at the time. And, ALK, of course, was, a way to flatten the surface of the cornea to reduce your nearsightedness. And, and you're not alone. Most patients had great results. The stability, what's amazing is you're still stable, which is great. The stability wasn't there that we have now. And so now, we do LASIK, PRK, which are very similar. LASIK, we create a flap, raise that flap, and then do a laser. With PRK, we scrape the surface and do the laser. And then, of course, we have SMILE. And all these things, we still reshape the cornea using a laser, but we do it much more precisely and with much more stable outcomes. And somebody like you with ALK, let's say you had cataract surgery and you were a little bit blurry afterwards, then we would do something like PRK to do an enhancement on you.
Yeah, I had the cataract surgery done in 2011.
Okay.
So, but I just highly recommend it if anybody's having concerns with wanting to see better. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Thank
we
you for
agree.
calling.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
If you're
Yeah.
20/20, don't do anything.
Yeah, don't do anything. If you're 20/20, you're seeing great. You're doing
If it ain't
awesome.
broke, don't fix it.
Awesome. Well,
Okay.
Thank you, Sue, for joining us and for your question.
I was going to jump in there while
Yeah.
we were on PSAs. We were talking about light and eye health. So it's an interesting topic. And there's this thing called pathologic myopia. The world is getting more nearsighted. Why is the world getting more nearsighted? It's an interesting question. Is it because we look at our phones all day? That's part of it. But kids are getting more nearsighted because they're not going outside enough. So, and it seems that one of the major drivers of that is getting natural sunlight exposure at least 2 hours a day. We're going to do a PSA from the Surgeon General's office on this real soon. It's a big topic, and you'd say, well, it's not a big deal if somebody's nearsighted, you just wear glasses. And that's sort of what I thought too, even to be in the field. But the problem is as everyone gets slightly more nearsighted, you're going to have more people who are really, really nearsighted and have retinal detachments and are functionally blind. It's a small percentage, but that could be like millions of people globally. So the recommendation is for kids to be outside, off the screen, outside, getting sunlight, even if it's cloudy, for 2 hours per day. Because inside, even in this really brightly lit studio, these lights are so bright, you squint, it's hard to even keep your eyes open and look at them. But it's probably less than 10,000 lumens of light. That's how you measure light. On a cloudy day outside, it's probably 60,000 because you're getting light from everywhere. So you cannot replicate in an indoor setting what you get from outside. So going outside is super important, and that stops the eye from getting longer, which is what causes nearsightedness. So this is important for the whole world, especially now that we're on screens and inside more.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, for sure. That was actually one of my topics that I didn't know if we were going to get to.
We'll drill down
get
on it
to.
next time. Let's do that for next time.
sure, yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we only have 15 seconds. CataractSurgeons.com.
TheCataractSurgeons.com.
TheCataractSurgeons.com.
All right, thanks for joining us. This will be on ktbs.com/healthline3.